Hello, welcome everyone, which is normally my Thursday live, but I am currently catching a flight to San Diego. And so I'm bringing on Judy Bernard today to introduce you all to her. She's a very, very good friend, and her planetary wisdom is literally out of this world. So, how do the cosmos and how does sound shape humanity in this current great time of change that we're going through? Personally, have you ever wondered if the planets in our solar system are more than simply celestial bodies? Could they actually be sentient beings influencing humanity's journey through consciousness and evolution? Well, join us as we explore profound connections between the planetary alignments, ancient wisdom, and sound healing with Judy Bernard. Discover how the recent planetary parade that we just went through this past weekend might be sending us messages and what 2025 just might hold for humanity. So, before I hop into all of that, let me just introduce a little bit about Judy Bernard. So, Judy Bernard, what does MAC mean?
Oh, master's in acupuncture.
Okay. All right. So, Judy Bernard has her master's in acupuncture, came into life knowing that we are all here with a purpose. And she loves using her knowledge in Chinese medicine, Acutonics Planetary Sound Healing, and interdimensional vibrations. Her intuition she uses to aid people in finding their purpose, fast track their path, emit their unique vibrations and frequencies in the world. Judy Bernard, owner of Planetary Echo.LLC, has been using these techniques for 25 years now and is also a senior faculty member of Acutonics Institution of Integrative Medicine. Now, I did ask Judy, and I'm going to mention it now before we get started, because I promise you, once you start hearing her, you're going to want to get in line for a session with her. And the thing about Judy Bernard, as long as I've known her, which is probably 25 years, she's not a techie person. She's a sound person. She's a frequency person. She's an incredible healer. She's an incredible doctor of Chinese medicine, but she is not a techie person. So I am including her email address here so that you can get first in line to sign up for a private session. So she is offering our listeners a one-to-one alignment session, which includes a reading where you are now. Where's your energy now? And a planetary sound session to help align you with the next steps on your path. Your community session is specifically $333 for your time with her. That's going to represent 3 for harmony of the mind, the body, and the spirit, which totals 9 for releasing the old that is holding you back. So I will put simply email Judy with harmony in the subject line so she'll know that you're wanting to sign up for a session. And her email is planetarygongoddess@gmail.com. She will is offering this special to our community by March 1st. So go ahead and get in line. Just want to also mention she has a Facebook page called Shine Experience, Tools to Stop Absorbing Other People's Energy. And we'll put that link in the segment here as well. So hi, Judy. Welcome. I've got a lot of questions for you.
Excellent.
And I'll just let you all know that I didn't give her any of these questions ahead of time because I know already it's in her wheelhouse. But the one question that I'm always curious about, Judy, is what is the questionnaire that we have on our website? I will include that as well. But when you take that questionnaire, it kind of fleshes out, how do you get intuitive information? Like, I'm a seer, and often people think that psychics see everything, but that's not how everyone gets intuitive information. So when you're listening to someone like in a session, do you get it through feelings, hearing, seeing, knowing, like hunches, gut feelings? How do you get it?
It's kind of a little bit of all of that. Over the years, it's just grown and developed. And so a lot of times we're chit-chatting and a word will come up and it'll like highlight. It'll get like someone highlighted it. And then I know that's a word to check out. There's deeper meaning behind that, whether it's a word from our past that's kind of choking us or a word that's really going to open us up. And then I kind of just quiet myself and connect with angel guides, ancestors, all beings of the highest good to bring us to our next step and our next place. And then I just they'll start to show me pictures. Sometimes I hear things. I rarely smell things, but once in a while. And then it hasn't happened in years, but it used to happen when I did one-on-one healing work in my private practice that was in Washington. Every once in a while, I'd feel like I had sand in my mouth. And
Uh-huh.
that was somebody had a neurological problem that was trying
Really?
to come up. Yeah,
Really? Oh,
yeah.
interesting,
That's the
interesting.
only time I get, like, a tasty, weird
And
thing.
then you knew right away it was
Well,
gonna be the nervous system.
it took me a while. It took me a while to
Yeah,
catch on to,
yeah,
like, what are these people have in common?
yeah,
What my
yeah,
cards are. So, it's kind of a little bit of everything, and I hear most of the time I see pictures and sometimes everything comes in really fast, and I'm always, like, with my guides going, "Whoa, English, words, please, stop, slow down." You know,
Oh,
there's always
so
so much information out there, and they're really excited when they get to work with people. I mean, they're just so
yeah,
I'm sure you experience this too,
yeah,
where they're just, "Oh my god, they're listening, we can work with them," like, and reminding us we're not alone,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, as long as I've known you, so the first time, I met Judy was that I needed healing. I had been traveling the world and a blood test came back. My liver was really out of sorts. My father's a physician. He felt like maybe I'd picked up, that I had been exposed, that I had hepatitis from some type of exposure in my travels between India and South Africa and Nepal. But whenever I meditated on it, I kept getting this sense of I'm trying to get in touch with my anger. And I'm like, I think I'm just trying to get in touch with my anger. And I think my liver's blocked. And my dad, of course, would like, okay. You can't really get doctors to listen to that. But I mean, I was having liver pain. I just felt sick. And actually saw I saw an ad. Like, remember we used to do the old metaphysical magazines or something? So you had
Yeah.
an ad in there. And I just knew as soon as I saw your picture, I didn't even have to read the information. It was like, she's going to know what's going on with me. But, and as soon as I came in, the first thing you did was you took my pulse. You kind of held your fingers there. And the first friggin' words out of your mouth were, "Oh, you have an issue in your liver. I hadn't even told you." And you go, "Oh, you've got one or two of your lines blocked because you're trying to get in touch with your anger and you're trying to shut it down." Like your body's what my body wants to get in touch with my anger, but my conscious me, Nancy, doesn't want to be angry. I want to be nice nurse Nancy, right? And you're like, "Here, we'll just put a few needles in and just get those opened right up." And I was better. I went and had a blood test and it was all normal again. So, I don't know if you remember that, but I do remember. It's like, I don't know who this woman is, but she still doesn't have a website, but she's still doing her thing and you're doing it a distance now. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
So anyway, okay, but we're going to get into the celestial realm because this is really coming through for me. I'm not an astrologer or an astronomer, but I can feel frequencies, and those galactic frequencies are coming through really strongly. And recently, just this past week, we had this planetary alignment. And so the planets were Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So tell us about, like, with Judy, what are the astrologers associate with each planet, and why is this so significant? I know it's a biggie with all the planets, so just say whatever comes to you.
Well, the heavens, we've looked before we had TV and computers and stuff, we would spend a lot of time as humans looking at the heavens. It was kind of like our TV. And when you do that, away from the city lights and stuff, you can start to see movements. And you can actually, from with our visible eyes, see what's a planet, what's a satellite. They didn't have satellites then, but now we can see them.
Yeah.
And all these different movements in bodies. So there's always been this really intrinsic heart place where humans like to look at the stars. And then as we learned about nautical, how the full moon pulls our tides higher, and how the North Star guides us through you get lost, you can use the North Star to find your way. I can't because I don't understand all that, but other people can. And so we've always really looked at it. And one of the things that always fascinated me about it is the different cultures all had kind of the same views about things.
Yeah.
So northern hemisphere of the world is ruled by the North Star. The North Star is one star. And the northern hemisphere of the world, we're really exploring what's it like to be an individual and part of a community, but mostly an individual.
Huh.
The southern hemisphere, which when we were in South Africa, like the one thing I kept wanting was, I want to see the Southern Cross. And
Yeah.
of course, it was hiding the whole time. I was there and didn't get to see it. But the Southern Cross is a group of stars. They're
Hmm.
more community orientated.
Fascinating.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. So that's in the southern hemisphere. Then the cultures, they'd be more kind of culture oriented,
Yeah. And
unity conscious,
communities.
and community. Wow. So
Because
is it possible for us being individuals in the northern hemisphere to become community oriented or unity consciousness?
yes, I think it is. I think we had to know who we were first.
Oh, okay.
And then we're moving because the stars are also always changing, which is what the planets do
Yeah,
when we talk about them
true.
coming closer and coming out.
Yeah.
And then that also leads us into the myth when the eagle has to fly with the condor for us to shift, which is the two
Okay.
hemispheres, in my understanding,
Yeah.
learning to work together because we are still
Yeah.
one world, right?
Yeah.
So
And so when you have all these planets aligned, because one of the, as I was feeling into it, and people are talking, it's this big deal, it's this big deal. And I know it's a big deal, but I wasn't feeling the big deal in that way. Like I wasn't feeling like it was just not like the solar eclipse we experienced last April. Now that was a bit that you could feel that rolling in and rolling out. And when I looked it up, it's like, yeah, there are some rare planetary alignments that might only come around once every trillion years, but these alignments are not actually that rare. They can still come around often. But what is the significance? Like, how did those individual planets, like, right, what we just experienced? There was what, 6 or 7 planets?
7 planets. I
Yeah.
know.
So, how
Well,
does it influence humans?
how it influences humans is every planet has an archetype or a personality or that brings information to us. And we'd like to say we're not sensitive beings. At least I know a lot of people want to say, oh, that doesn't affect me. That doesn't. Well, just being a human on the earth, you're mostly water. Vibration runs through water 4 times faster than it does through the air. So you are sensitive because
Your
water,
influence.
you know? Um, our minds like to densen us up.
Yeah.
Um, and so we do feel things. We feel when the full moon's full. You were a nurse. I worked in
Mhm.
customer service for
Yep.
years. You don't even have to look outside to know that the moon is
Yeah.
full,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's pulling on our waters. So
Yeah.
that's the one I feel one of the most extreme cases is our full moon because is our moon because it's the closest to us. But all the other planets have similar effects on us, although milder because they're not necessarily as close or as far.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That
And
makes a lot.
so, and then I'm not an astrologer either. I work with the planets all the time and I know about astrology, but I use them in a little bit different way. I use them more towards their archetypes based on what you have going on in your life, and then I apply Chinese medicine with it to shift them and work all together. So I'm not an astrologer, just to make that clear. But what I find so fascinating about the planets is like Venus all over the world represents the same thing. It's divine feminine. It's our feminine self. It's inner peace. It's ground. It's we say yin building in Chinese medicine, which is the coolness, the quietness. It's our creation energy. And it means the same thing. Mars, same thing. It's the divine masculine. It's the protector. It's the warrior energy. It's the going out and exploring. Whereas Yin, Venus is more staying at home, building a beautiful home. Mars is going out and creating in the world. And so we know about those, and they do a dance. So when we all land up, and each of them have their own significance. So that's Mars and Venus. We pretty much know. Mercury is all about communication. I know you. It's kind of funny. It's ironic. I managed a Kinko's for years, which is all about technology. And the key there is I hired really good people that knew technology, not me. But Mercury's all about communication. And I could pretty much tell you when I worked at Kinko's, Mercury's in retrograde because all of a sudden things would not work well.
The copy machines,
The copy
nothing would
wouldn't
work.
work, or all of a sudden it wouldn't talk to the computers, or the printer
Yeah.
wouldn't talk. It's all these little things, right?
Yeah.
So that's Mercury retrograde. And so then we have Jupiter. Jupiter is the largest gas giant in our solar system. And so it rules the largest organism in our body, which is our liver. Granted, now we consider the skin the largest organism, but
Right.
originally it was the liver. And so it's also about expansion, right? Gas expands and contracts. So this Jupiter really helps us expand our consciousness, expand our awareness. And it's also the great protector because it's such a large giant in the sky. It has a great magnetic field. And so asteroids that would hit the Earth, it actually snags and keeps
Really?
getting us. And that's how it collects. We call it Jupiter collects a harem because it has multiple moons and gets more.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
it's the great protector. So when you think of that archetype, so I want to expand my consciousness or I want to expand my being. And how can I do that? Well, where we can look at where Jupiter is in your chart, but also where is it in the heavens? So this lining up time brought Jupiter more into our awareness, but it has that beautiful protective quality where we can say, oh, it's safe to do this right now. Whereas if Jupiter is further away, not having as much influence with us,
How
and their
interesting.
orbits are elliptical. So they move farther away and then come back in. We go around the sun. So we're all doing this dance in the
Yeah.
heavens. And then Saturn is all about structure. So we can look at it as our bone or skeletal system,
Yeah.
or we can look at it about all the structures we have in our world. We have a library system, which is really beautiful here in the US, where you can go and get books before they go away and just become ebooks, which I hope that never happens. We have a banking institution, we have a government, hospitals, all of those things are institution structures. And as we've recognizing in our country, some of those structures aren't functioning very well anymore.
Right.
So Saturn is the old kind of holding it. We still need structure, but
Mhm.
maybe we need it in a different way.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
different way. And
Yeah.
so Saturn helps us work with that. And then who else lined up? Uranus. Uranus rules lightning. And when we discovered, and this is where the original 7 planets that have been around forever, those have been around since basically the basic formation of Earth. The ancient texts talk about them. We then developed telescopes and that so we could see farther, and we learned about Uranus. Uranus rules lightning, and when we discovered Uranus, shortly thereafter, we discovered electricity.
Wow.
So when we learn about a new planet, it shifts the consciousness of the Earth and we get new technologies. And
Wow.
that has been with Uranus for sure. Neptune was a little nebulous, right? Neptune is dreams and the etheric and the intuition. But when we learned about it, that's when people became, I have intuition. And
Mhm.
Neptune is about our collective unconsciousness. So then we all started to realize, oh, we are one. And like in the 20s, they called it the ether, right?
Yeah.
We're all connected through the ether.
Yeah.
That was kind of a Neptunian thought field.
Yeah.
Then we move into Pluto. When we discovered Pluto, which I know has been downgraded, but I still consider it. And the beauty of, I still consider it a planet. The astronomer who finds the planet gets to name the planet. So Pluto was not named after the Greek Roman pantheon. It was named after literally Pluto the Disney dog. But literally, look how it just fell right in line, just continued right in line where it was supposed to. Pluto's when we discovered plutonium and we developed the atom bomb.
Whoa.
Pluto is all about taking something in the darkness and bringing it to the light. We say Cancer has a signature of Pluto.
Wow.
Because it stays hidden for so long.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so
Interesting.
then the newest planets, and I'll get back to what the lineup in just a minute. I just want to
Yeah.
share there's a couple newer planets. One is called Sedna, and it's way out in the Oort cloud. And she's about unity and the soliton wave, and how when all the monkeys started washing their potatoes or their food in salt water, and then it was just like globally, if monkeys live by the ocean, they all started doing it. They didn't have a text or an email that said, "Hey, try washing your potatoes in salt water. It's tasty." They didn't do that. It was just a consciousness came in and went through.
Yeah.
And so that's what Sedna, and Sedna is about unity. How do we create the soliton wave that flips us into the next frequency of more love, compassion, kindness, unity? We recognize it more. And then another planet was called Hygeia, and she was found just before COVID hit.
Really?
And Hygeia is all about hygiene.
Oh my goodness.
And so, and then all of these, and you can start to see like when we find a planet, and those two are pretty new. So we don't know what that vibration that they're sending into the earth is going to make of it yet. We're still learning.
Wow.
But it's shifting our consciousness because everything has a mathematical relationship. And that's all of us in the planets. We know we have an elliptical orbit around the sun. Some of us spin faster around, some planets spin faster around the sun. Some planets spin faster on their axis. So a day on Earth is different than a day on Mars.
Okay.
So it's all math, really, when you start to look at it. So we have, and then we're all connected, which is why they say that the other races, the alien races and that, are there, pay a lot of attention to us. They have for years once we discovered the atom bomb, because we can totally blow ourselves up.
Yeah.
So they pay attention to us, because if we lose Earth, we lose a gravitational pull in the whole string of things, if you will, the string of planets. It'll change everybody's orbit. And we like to think of ourselves as we're just one galaxy, we're one solar system. But that solar system is part of a bigger solar system of other galaxies and other planets altogether. So we're all having this interdimensional interrelationship.
With a lot of different planets and galaxies, if I'm hearing you
Yes.
correctly. We're much more, we influence them
Yes.
and they influence us. We have a relationship, a consciousness with them that we may not even be aware of.
Correct.
Wow.
I would say we're not aware of, just in our everyday lives. We are not aware of it at all. It's just those random things where,
Yeah.
man, the ER's crazy.
Yeah.
What is going on up there?
My neighbor just, dumped garbage in my yard, and it's like, Mars is just flung by.
Yes, Mars is a little close. There's a lot of anger floating around and being expressed. And so we feel that in our bodies.
Wow.
And I didn't look up prior to this what the alignment went or anything
No.
like did. I just was like so tapping into it, sitting here now. I almost like what they're showing me is this was kind of a reset for us. When the Earth started, however many millions of years ago you want to say, um, everything was put in order and then everything started to move. This brought us back to a place of a
Okay.
reset to start to move. And it included two of our oldest outer planets, meaning the ones that you need to see with your telescope.
And
So
those are
those would be Uranus and Neptune.
okay. Okay.
Uranus, the Earth moves backwards through the zodiac signs,
Yes.
which it's all mathematical. It's a little mind
I
boggling.
only realized this like a month ago.
It's mind boggling.
Yeah.
I never thought about it, but I knew the next age was the age of Aquarius, but I never really thought, oh, we're in the age of Pisces, and to go,
Right.
and it just never dawned on me.
Exactly the same thing. The same thing happened to me. Yeah.
And so it moves backwards. So we're moved into, some people say we're moving into the age of Aquarius. Some people say we're already there. I don't know all of that.
Right.
There's
No,
lots of
I keep hearing let's just put it this way. There's a lot of experts
yes,
in the world. And this is why I'm just going to put my plug in again about why I teach intuitive psychic development, because you need to just get really good about discerning and getting your own information.
absolutely.
Right. Because everybody sees it through their own lens.
Yes,
And
agreed.
there's some great philosophers, there's great theories. And I love it about theories. Theories are meant to be challenged. Theories are meant to be either proven or disproven. They were never meant to be fact. So that I always have to remind myself of as well when someone puts out a theory.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the key things I find is, and with your program, um, is really it's about learning to go within to our own heart,
Yeah.
because it's also what frequency we're on is what's going to be the pattern that we need.
Right.
And that's where these planets come in, just understanding them and their personalities. It kind of gives me and many people who work with this way, which we have a school called Acutonics, it gives you a knowledge, like it's like when I see certain patterns, I can say, oh, they're experiencing Pluto right now. That's a
Yeah.
hard, tough time. And then what other planet, because I have frequencies, I have the gongs and tuning forks. What frequency could I give them that would soften a Pluto energy
Okay.
when I'm working with healing in that? And a
Yeah.
lot of times when we refer over to an astrologer, they can totally look at it and go, oh, yeah, the sun, because sun is light and bright, right? It gives us hope. It gives us the energy to keep moving through the Pluto dark night of the soul kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So this alignment, I feel like it's a restart, and it's including the age of Aquarius that we're going into in a new way, and working with Neptune, the collective unconsciousn's. How do we bring the collective unconsciousness into consciousness?
Yeah. No, so I kind of shared this story in another video, but recently, so it was my grandson. He's 22, and he works at Costco, and he loves his work there and everything, But he just called me and he goes, "I'm just sitting here thinking I've got a day off, and I just thought, who can I call?" And call my grandmother. Well, he was kind of overcome with this desire to make a change in his life, but he didn't know what it was. He was actually, kind of exploring a couple of different things. And so I just said to him, "Well, it just sounds like you're kind of your mind maybe is kind of hungering for a new level of knowledge." And he goes, "That would be a great way to say it." And I said, "And so how would you feed that? Like there's lots of different ways that you can feed that." And so then I said, "I know you didn't have the greatest time in high school, but why don't you just take, like, what do you love?" He said, "Writing and photography." So I said, "Why don't you go to the local community college, see if you can just sign up for a writing class?" Well, next thing you know, he's calling me 5 hours later. He has completely enrolled in the community college. He's already taken a couple tests. They're getting him lined up for spring quarter. He's going to go get his associate's degree. But what you're talking about is that reset. Could it be possible But that's what he was going through unconsciously.
Yeah.
Like there's this opportunity to reset his life and move in a different direction.
Yes. And we have points in our lives that are actual natural points as like I'd call them seasons.
Mhm.
Like around the age of 28, give or take 3 years, we go through what they're called, I think that's the Saturn return. So that's where we start to say, what in the structure of my life did I make that it really doesn't register with me? So
Mhm.
for a lot of us, it's like up until 28, we kind of did what our parents wanted us to do.
Oh,
And we
interesting.
got the degree that our parents thought would be a good idea. We got the job our parents thought would be a good idea. And then all of a sudden it comes around that you're like, between the ages of 25 and 32, you're going, I don't like this. This isn't this doesn't make me happy.
Yeah.
Them happy, but I'm not happy. And that's why you see a lot of people kind of blow up their lives then.
Well, and it's interesting because I remember I was talking to my mother. She's a doctor of psychology, and I was, my kids were teenagers, and and they're bucking the system, like they do. And I remember saying to my mom, it's like they're complaining about this or that or the other, as me as a mother, and and my mother said, "Don't worry about it." Let them talk to their therapist all about it when they turn 30. So there's this sense about that's about when people start therapy is around that age. And it kind of goes along with what you're talking about.
Yep. Because the planets come back into alignment every so many years in our charts. And we know this in like frequency wise, not
Yeah.
intellectually wise,
Yeah.
but we know it inside
Wow.
us.
Wow. And so because we're at this accelerated state, and this is 2025 that I'm talking about, but even if you're listening to this replay in 26, 27, 28, like up through 29, there's big shifts. But this one's like, bouncing the basketball pretty hard on the ground until that moment you want to make that shot to get through the hoop. So that could be 26, 27, 28, 29. But this is you're getting ready to make that shot. And but are you noticing, do they still follow those same patterns like at age 30, or are we going through these what would have been normal phases? Are we going through these quicker?
I think we're going through them quicker because what I've seen over the last few years with families, because a lot of times I'm blessed, I get to treat the husband and I get to do a session for the husband and the wife and the kids and the grandparents. So it's super fun. I can
I
see
know once people meet you,
familiar,
like they bring their whole family in.
I can see the familiar strings of vibration moving through.
Yeah.
And what always like kids nowadays are exposed to so much more. Things in general are just moving faster. The frequency of the earth has actually gone up. And that's if people here follow the Schumann resonance, that is the frequency of the earth moving up. It vibrates literally faster than it did before. And as this moves faster, the kids born into it, so our younger generations are born into a different frequency of the earth than you and I. And you can tell this a fun thing to do if you like to do woohoo weird things at dinners, family dinners, is you can muscle test people on cell phones. And they just hold, see if they're strong without it. And then they hold the cell phone and say, I am
So
well.
they hold their arm out and then
Mhm. This
someone
voice kind of
pushes on
filters
it.
it.
And then what are they
And
supposed to
they
be
say
doing?
they just see how they feel, like if they're strong
Just
or
in
not, then
general.
just in general. Then they
If
pick
you
up
can
a
hold
cell
it up.
phone
Okay.
and they do the same thing and say, I am well. Most people, 50 and older, we about fall over. Like,
Okay.
it's amazing we can even hold that cell phone,
Okay.
um, or a cheese Danish, um, if you like those. But the younger crowds, it doesn't even bother. Like, it doesn't change their energy field because they were born into this particular soup.
So what doesn't bother them? The cell phone?
The
The
cell phone
cell
doesn't.
towers? Wow. Well, I know when people were complaining about cell phones and they were, and about Wi-Fi and 5G and all this stuff. And again, it was one of those, like Chicken Little, the sky is falling kind of thing. But when I checked in, it was like I'm being told it's helping us to develop our telepathy. We have to practice our telepathy because you're texting in code or emojis or whatever. And that because telepathically we're opening in this window between 2025 and 2029, and that the cell phone connections are helping us to do that. But I most certainly know those who have sensitive energy fields, yeah, it can weaken them. But it's interesting that you find the kids aren't, it's not that big of a deal.
Because they're born into it. They don't know anything different.
Yeah.
Their whole being was emerged into this particular energy field from the time they popped out into the world.
Well,
They've
now
never known anything different.
I have a million questions, but the other thing that I'm going to mention, because I typed up questions for you, Judy, but I love where the conversation's going. But my kids, 40 and 45, they grew up where no computer, no cell phones, and then computer and cell phones. And they seem like my daughter just my son's quite technologically minded, AI, all that stuff, but he still has those limitations, and my daughter just can't be bothered. She's like you, but you're both a Pisces, so maybe that has something to do with it. She never checks emails or anything, So, have you noticed in that age range, like, yeah, they're that bridge.
They're the bridge. So
Yeah,
they're learning to adapt in both worlds. And when you're the bridge, you're still part of you is still running an old energy system that slowly needs upgraded as we move through. So there's going to be times where it's kind of rocky because we can't hold this new pattern yet. Or mostly it's our mind doesn't get it, right?
yes,
Our
yeah,
mind just doesn't understand all this. Like our hearts get it. Our heart's excited. This is new and
yeah.
fun. And our spirits get it. Like, whoa, look at how this is going. But our mind is going, huh?
Okay, let me get to my questions here because
Yeah.
I really took time to make up some really good ones.
Okay. I'm excited.
All right. So I think I already said this, and you probably already answered it. But let's say, ask Judy to elaborate on the perspective of planets as sentient beings, um, and how do you interpret their consciousness, and what might their purpose be for the greater cosmic design?
Okay. So, how I see this is each of the planets have um, their archetypes or their personalities or their sentient being. And that many of them have been the same. If you look back into the Sumerian text, Venus has always represented feminine energy. Mars has always represented the warrior, the male energy, always. So they hold from whoever decided this, and I don't believe anybody knows, like, was it the Sumerians that figured out this, or who knows who it was? The Anunnaki, when they came to the planet, I don't know who all decided this, but it's held all the way through. And even with the newer ones, they have a personality and energy field, just like we do, that they put into the earth.
So so I'm like, okay, I'm a soul,
Yes.
and I have chosen to be here during this incredible time of change in a human body and a female body. So, would you kind of toy with the idea? And I'm asking all the listeners too, like, would this even be possible that each planet is a soul? Is it possible? Is it a spirit? Is it possible? Or is it just made up of energy? Is it consciousness that chose to incarnate as a planet? Does that sound crazy?
No, I don't think it is. I think because I think the planets, and I'm just getting this intuition wise, the planets are a community of like energy that have created a unique frequency that holds a specific value.
Like symbiotic.
Symbiotic, and all the planets together work symbiotically, and we're only one solar system. So as we know, our galaxy is actually shifting, creating all the other shifts. which is why our frequency on just Earth is going up, but it's not just Earth. It's what does the
All the
divine
planets.
feminine work look like? What does the divine masculine look like? Everything is going up. Now we're experiencing it all in all levels here on the earth, but I believe all the other planets are experiencing it too. There's no way they can't be because of our interconnected with us and how we're moving through space in a different way.
I guess so. The reason why I think what inspired that question, because I've known you long enough, and you're like, well, let me see which planet. Oh, Mars, you're always so bossy. Get out of the way. Like you talk to them like that. Like I could tell at the beginning of this call, you were like, who's coming through next? Like you're just like like almost like they're trying to get their elbows in there and see who could be first. Or it's like, like I've heard you say in the past, like, oh, Venus, you're always in the background, and today you want to be first. And so, what does that come from?
I think that just comes with the connection of vibrations. Like as we connect, we each have our own, maybe you could, excuse me, our own soul groups, if you will. And that's just where we resonate. There's nothing right or wrong with it. It's just where we resonate.
Yeah.
And I am just called to the planets. Excuse me.
And so, their greater cosmic design is very relational, it sounds like, even with the galaxies. It's all about relationship. And so, then what the heck is happening to us on Earth where we're struggling so much? I mean, I know that, everybody wants to know the answer to that, but I get curious, like what is that piece that we can't, come on, people now, join all your brothers, everybody get together and love one another right now. It's
I
like
know.
it's a real struggle.
It is a real struggle. Well, and part of that is relationships grow and change. And we have to grow and change. And a lot of people look at Earth as schoolhouse Earth. We come here to learn about ourselves and raise our consciousness. And as much as it would be nice to like all be living in luxury on an island and everything, none of us are changing if we're doing that. I mean, truthfully,
That's true.
we do not shift and change unless it gets pretty like, I really can't stand this anymore. So I'm going to, like, when I left to come do this, my roommate was done with our spice organization in our house. And so her frustration of not being, and she's the one that cooks a lot, from not being able to find spices, drove her to fixing the order of spices, right? That's just kind
Right.
of how we work.
Yeah, that's
We
kind of how we roll.
we have to have this struggle. And so that's partly what I think astrology can help us with. But then right now, everybody's, because of how things are moving, we're elevated, the frequency's elevated, which means when it's a higher vibration, it's more sensitive. Like
Yes,
you just
absolutely.
tap it and it moves. Like, and I was thinking about how to describe this really well. And I was on a hike. Well, if there's a boulder in the middle of our hike road path, we walk around it because we know we can't move that. That's about as dense as it gets. It's a boulder. We're not moving it. We're walking around it. But yet, so when we were at our lower frequencies, the Earth did,
Yeah.
which, even 20 years ago,
Oh,
very different
yes.
frequency
Not that
than what
long
we're
ago.
doing now. Um, then I was kicking sand because it's kind of a sandy trail in this one spot. And I'm like, we're like the sand. A little breeze from a footstep moves us. And that's where we're waking up to. And that's where our consciousness has to be, because otherwise we're just that sand bouncing all around. That's when we have to partner it with our heart and our consciousness to say, wait, no, I'm very fluid now, and I'd like to flow this way.
Yes. Yes.
That's when we get our, like, a lot of indigenous cultures, as you know, believe dream life is real life.
Yes.
And unconsciously, we don't believe that in the Western hemisphere of Western cultures. And so we unconsciously dream things that we don't truly want. And we don't even really put value on them. And so we're just literally like that little speck of dust or a little piece of sand bouncing all over the place. And that's where our consciousness comes in, which is Neptune. Neptune got developed later on and is in part of this alignment. How do we use our consciousness to focus our energy on what we want?
Yeah, and disengage from all the distractions, which we most certainly have a lot
Yes.
of distractions. And it does build our focus muscle. Yeah, I totally get that. But
Yeah.
it's a bit rough, for
Oh, yeah.
all of us.
And it's a one day I got it and the next day I don't. It's
Exactly.
it's not, and that's why we need community,
Yes.
because on the days I don't got it, I need to call you or you need to say, "Yo, Judy, what is wrong with you?" Um,
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
"Where are you?" "Why are you playing in doom and gloom?"
Right.
We need our friends, our community to
Yeah.
hold us to that standard.
I you know, for since I began my own journey with an out of body experience, I remember I've heard a lot about, your inner child, your inner child, your inner child, and we gotta, please our inner child and comfort our inner child and help keep our inner child safe and all those really great things. And then someone said to me the other day, and you know how when you said a word will come up and you'll just like boing, it's just like it reverberated through my whole body. It's like we've moved into a phase now where we need to get in touch with our inner adult, that we are maturing and
Yes.
that we need to know, it isn't not that the inner child, but it's like be the adult to the inner child, not go to the inner child. And it was like, yeah, that was a huge consciousness shifter for me. And I'm still playing with that one. So it was
Yeah.
fun.
That
All right.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's see, whatever question. Okay. Sound. Because you're a sound master. That's all I'm going to say. I know a lot of people do sound baths and all this stuff, but if you I can't go on and on and on about it. But so I know that when you went to get your doctorate in Chinese medicine, you became a doctor of Chinese medicine and acupuncture. And when did you first notice the body's connection to sound and its healing potential? When was that kind of awakening moment for you?
Well, I was really blessed with, our clinical dean well, at the time was Donna Carey, and she's the founder of Acutonics. She had a near-death experience and heard the music of the spheres. When she came back, she started looking for them. She was already an acupuncturist. And
Oh,
then at the time, our, shiatsu instructor was a, jazz musician. And so the two of them got together and started creating Acutonics. Donna found the gongs. The gongs had been made by a company called Pasty in Germany, based off of Hans Cousteau's work on the planets have a mathematical relationship with us. They move. And then through the law of octaves, they could bring them down into, so they knew the higher frequency of how everything worked, the higher math. Then through the law of octaves, they brought it down into a range we could hear. So Donna and them started developing the tuning forks based off of the gongs because, carrying around 7 to 12 gongs is very heavy.
like the one you have in back of
And the
you.
one I have in the back, and they were acupuncturists. So how do we activate the field of acupuncture,
Yeah,
which is a blueprint of how our body's energetics flow? And the myth that goes with it is acupuncture came from the stars. Like the Milky Way is the flowing, delivering,
interesting.
and it was brought down. So the stars are literally acupuncture points within the heavens. It's the Milky Way
I
within
love
us.
it. I
It's
love it.
so it was kind of a natural pairing. And so I was in acupuncture school and I was there the first year, just, really learning. To me, acupuncture was a language. I had to learn a new language, a new energetics of how things work and how things coordinate. And in acupuncture, every organ, every meridian has an organ, and every organ has points that get activated. Every point has a mind, body, spirit connection. Um, and it just like tend to pull everything into one, which just made sense, right? We're a corporation of the one, our whole beings. So it would make sense that our bodies would be able to move like this. It never quite made sense to me from a Western perspective, um, that my liver has nothing to do with my spleen. No, no, they have to. I mean, well, you have to go to a different doctor for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, okay. Um, but
Yeah.
there's a duck here. There's a bridge between those two items in my
Yes.
body.
Exactly. And so you felt like you were awakened at a different level. So did you hear the sound? Is that what, or did it just start coming together for you?
It just kind of start coming together. I mean, the Acutonic school really has and I was growing as they were growing. So I didn't take their first class, but I learned their second. So as I went through acupuncture school, I was learning the tuning forks as well as needling. And so what happened, because this was a new modality, if you will, it's an ancient modality just brought forward,
Mhm.
that had been dormant for a while. A lot of our really traditional teachers did not like it because it wasn't traditional acupuncture. So I
Mm.
got really good at being able to explain why I wanted a needle versus why I wanted a tuning fork. And the evolution of the medicine of acutonics, the sound, was really quite amazing. By the time I graduated and took our death and dying class, one of our teachers, who was not very fond of acutonics, the sound in the beginning, was recommending it for death and dying because she could see the connection of listening to heavenly bodies, right? Listening
Yeah.
to the planets and being able to let go of the earth and move on.
Yeah.
Really aiding in the dying process.
Now, how many gongs do you have now?
Well, as you know, I've been kind of traveling around and they're sprinkled between Tennessee, Colorado, and Washington. I was trying to figure that out the other day. I don't have all planetary gongs. I have some from a maker I just really like, and I have some that have just come to me. I kind of laugh sometimes. I'm the mother of gongs that I just find them on Facebook Marketplace and buy them, and then eventually somebody else will need them and they'll move on to their new homes. So I think I have about 18.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
I don't have all the planets yet. Still working on that. The one in the background here is Neptune, and as Pisces, that rules Pisces. And I just recently got that because a friend of mine is, she had a few gongs and she's retiring. And so I got Pisces,
Oh,
Neptune.
awesome. Awesome. All right. So you said that you have about 18 gongs in multiple different places. Um, but let me just, so because you say the gongs talk to you, and it's like when you're working with someone and you're doing a sound healing, which you do over the internet. You can do it
Mhm.
over the phone, you can do it over Zoom. I'm assuming, is that how you work, or?
I do it a lot over the phone or WhatsApp, um,
Okay.
because I have
Yeah.
people from all over,
Yeah.
and then, I record it, and then you get a copy. Sometimes the recordings come out really beautiful, and just like, the old days when we used to use the little tapes to record,
Yeah.
intuitive readings,
Yeah.
like, sometimes they're just all static. It's so strange.
Well,
Um,
and I imagine it's just the energy that's
yeah.
that's moving. But I do know that you've had big success with that. You weren't quite sure in the beginning, especially when COVID hit. You were used to just having people come to your office filled with gongs. But it has turned out really well, hasn't it?
It
Yeah.
has.
Yeah.
And I keep getting, like everybody else, everybody's getting these upgrades. And so one of the upgrades that I'm getting and still incorporating, so I'm not completely integrated this, is as we're awakening more of our DNA is becoming activated, and that there is an interdimensional,
Oh,
intergalactic aspect of our DNA that's being awakened.
wow.
Yeah, it's been
Wow.
really, and one of the images I got on, as you know, I've been having some health issues over the last couple of years, and one of the images I got was my health kind of blew up because my physical body wasn't adapting as fast as
To the
to the
frequencies.
frequencies, and, I have a little friend here, it's an octopus, to remind me This is what I was given in a vision. How I get all my information is I literally have different arms and I can go to all dimensions at one time and pull it into this realm so the person can have it to move forward, to move to their next realm, whatever that looks like. But it freaks my body out when I go to 8 dimensions at one time.
Wow.
My physical body gets a little freaked out. So I'm learning, I'm working a lot with Uranus, that immediate changes of things, incorporating that, which is the age of Aquarius. So how can I do this faster? It's the nervous system. So
Yes. Yeah.
where was my nervous system kind of in a loop that wasn't really helpful? Like some of the loops that, things happen in childhood, that got stuck in a
Yeah.
sense in this
Yeah.
loop. And so how do I work with that? And so Pisces, I'm Pisces by, my sun sign. There's a lot of other things to
Yeah.
it in there. But Pisces is water and Uranus is this big change thing. And if you know about astrocartography, which is where they take your planetary lines and tell you where you should live on the earth. Well, I'm currently in Colorado. This is where I grew up. I-25 is my Uranus line. So it's all about that electric change and sharp thing.
Wow.
So Uranus is Aquarius. Aquarius is lightning change with water, which is Pisces. And so electricity and water, as we know, do not mix very well on the 3D plane. It's a bad
Mm.
idea. Um, but that's what I'm working with, those kind of energies to get that going.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Well,
where
let
the
me
spirits
just
come through.
let me just kind of leap into what phase do you think humanity is right now, and what do you believe is the planetary energies at play in this evolutionary phase that we're in? And as we're entering, so it's kind of like two questions here, but I imagine you can fold it into one answer as we're finishing up. As we enter into 2025, what do you see unfolding for humanity, and how might planetary influences shape our year ahead?
Well, I think from humanity perspective, we're kind of we're in that structure breaking down place. We've been in it for a while, but it's now just getting more and more and more. So Saturn is breaking down structure, breaking
Mm.
down structure. When Pluto and Mars have been doing a really interesting dance in the heavens, which is what all this tension is going on.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why we're having outbursts, right? People who are normally really quiet are like kind of losing it. That's the Pluto, right? Deep inside, expressing it out. Mars is the initiation to make that happen, move that forward.
Yeah.
So we're all becoming aware of our own darkness in a sense, not from
Mhm.
a bad perspective, but just all the things, like we're taught, women are taught not to be angry. Well, a
Yeah.
lot of us are pissed off, you know, like, I can't be nice about it anymore.
Right.
It doesn't mean that we wanna go out and hurt anyone,
Yeah.
but we need to be able to understand that being Nancy nice
Yeah.
or Judy nice isn't gonna get us what we need.
Yeah.
We're losing a part of ourselves by doing
Yeah.
that.
And so in the
Planets.
big kind of scope of humanity, it sounds like we're all going everybody's going through this. And is there any kind of, what do you find that can support kind of actions that we can do to kind of support that? Like I'm always saying, get good sleep, and people are like, yeah, I'm doing all those things. I'm going out in nature. I'm doing all those things. But it is, when I'm saying getting in touch with the inner adult, like, okay, who's the adult in the room? Am I going to be the adult in the room of my life? And what is that going to look like? And it's like I have choices, but it does.
Oops, you froze. Okay.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
you froze a little bit. What's
Oh,
the question?
yeah, because I was getting all upset. Well, it's just, we can get so burned out,
Right.
on the cycles.
Well, and that's where I think really working with the planetary energies, meaning that if and being in touch with ourselves. We have to be responsible for ourselves. We have to be the inner adult, not the inner slave master that our mind likes to be.
Yeah.
And yes, there is responsibilities in the world. Most people I know that have reached this level of consciousness we're responsible.
Yeah.
We are responsible. We think of others first.
Yeah.
We are responsible. And the next step is, okay, I have to be responsible for me in a different
Yeah.
way. And
Yeah.
that might be like, I don't go to the grocery store today. I just
Right.
don't have the bandwidth to run the grocery store energy.
Yeah.
I can't do it. You know,
Yeah.
I have to really think twice before I go to Walmart
Yeah.
because I don't have that bandwidth.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
have to be conscious of that because I always say our bodies are just like 3-year-olds. If we feed them, they sleep well and they've got some playtime and that they're delightful beings. They're so magical. And you forget one of those things and you have a little holy terror on your hands.
It's very true. Yeah.
That's us.
Yeah.
And we've got all the planets. We don't even know what they're all doing. And so that's where it's tap in, go into your heart. I believe our heart is our divine connection to ourselves and the divine.
Mhm.
When we move into our heart always knows what to do. It's a whisper in our world, not a loud, do clean the kitchen.
Yeah.
It's a slight whisper. And when we listen to that, we now think differently and we will create something different. And it's
Yeah.
when we start to feel defensive, then something is off balance. Because we're normally, most of us at this level, we aren't defensive people. So if it's defensive, it's either resonating something within us that needs healed. And thank you, whoever triggered me, because
Yeah.
I didn't know it was there. And now I know it's there and I can heal it. I can't heal what I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I can be grateful for them. Now, I'm probably not in the moment. I remember my roommate said something to me the other day, and I just looked at her and she goes, "Oh, that glare means go somewhere not nice." And I said, "Yeah, I'll get to the gratefulness for you pointing that out in a moment." Um, so we all have that,
Yeah.
but it's like going within and saying, "Okay, no, I just don't want to do this today." That's okay.
Yeah.
That's the inner adult, right? You're not
Yeah.
going to drag the 3-year-old out who's
Yeah.
going to have a meltdown
Yeah.
somewhere. And if you have
And
a meltdown,
right.
be grateful to yourself, be
Right.
kind.
But what I always say is, but don't live there,
No,
because if you're 3 months into, "I don't wanna go to the grocery store," there's a problem. You're
there's a
having delivery
problem.
but definitely in that moment. But we are right about ready to wrap this up, but my final question, because it might have already been your final thoughts, but so your message is going out to a couple of thousand people. They're gonna listen to this probably over the years. So, any final thoughts or messages that you would like to share? Because I know you're so tapped in. Um, you're always thinking at that consciousness level that never switches off for you. And just with working with people, and maybe what are some messages you'd like to leave everybody with?
Oh, really, it's kindness, kindness. And it starts with yourself.
Mhm.
We are so push, 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 push that we start to lose it. And it could be the planets affecting us, making us a little crazy. It could be the solar flares, because all of that affects us.
Yeah,
But in general, we can't follow all that in your daily life. That's gonna make you crazy.
yeah.
Um, it's really about when you feel off, when you feel stressed, kindness. What is the kindest thing you can do to yourself? And if you can't go there, what I do a lot of times is, what is the kindest thing I would tell my best friend to do if she showed up with these issues with me? If she shared with
Oh,
me what she was going through, what would I tell her? What
okay.
would I tell my godchildren?
Yeah.
And because we're going to take it from a different perspective when we're sharing it with someone else versus some of those voices in our head that says, "Oh, get over yourself. Oh, come on, pull your."
Exactly. Exactly.
This
Pull
we
it
would
together.
never say that to a friend.
Yeah.
We would never say, "Get over yourself," to a friend.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And
That's a
so
great, great message.
stepping out and saying, "Oh, kindness." That's what we need. We need more kindness and compassion in the world, whatever that looks like. And it
Yeah.
starts with yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that message. I love that message. Well, Judy, I know that we could talk forever and we will definitely have to get together again. And I know that I've been trying to get you in to have a little chat on YouTube with me for about 6 months now. So I'm super excited that it finally came together. So again, just to remind everybody, she's not a techie person, so you're not going to get her on a website, but you will definitely want to write her email, even if that's just to have a little chat, at a
Absolutely.
session, and go ahead and get in line for that. And then you can also go to our Facebook group, Shine Experience Tools to Stop Absorbing Other People's Energy. Oh, Judy, we can always talk because I didn't even get to ask you about the galactic and star beings. We'll save that for another time. So
Perfect. I look forward to it. Thank you so much for having me, and thank all your community for really doing all the work that they're doing in the world.
yeah,
It
yeah,
matters. It
yeah,
matters when we change ourselves, we shift the energy of the world, and it truly matters.
absolutely. Absolutely awesome. Thanks again, Judy. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.